Come forward. We'll take another one from the floor.
Hi, my name is Hope Lewis, and I'm currently going to Liberty University. And I first wanted to say thank you so much for contributing to the Jesus Bible. It has been with me to unreached people groups in Nepal as my first semester. I was able to go there, and my second semester now at Liberty University, and then also with me to Cuba. It's been my rock, and I love reading the excerpts as well. I'm so grateful for your contribution, both of your contribution. And my question, yesterday, God divinely placed my airplane flight seat next to a man, and he had a question. He's an atheist, so he says. And we had a long conversation, and his main dilemma is if God is all good, then there's a bucket of something that's all good. And if you reach into something that's all good, you should be able to take out something that's good. And he's like, how did God create heaven and Lucifer fall? How did God create the earth? And then there's fallen human. How does evil come out of good? Something that's all good. So that would be my question. How would y'all answer that question?
Thank you for that.
I know John will answer it, so I'll just keep mine brief with this. Give him time to get his answer together. If there's no God, then everything is accidental, and everything in the bucket should be accidental. How does he pull out an accidental comment and take it to be true? That his moral reasoning can be trusted and depended upon to say that there is no God. The very act of using logic and moral reasoning in a naturalistic framework is actually self-destructive. You cannot come to those logical conclusions morally or logically and assume them to be valid if there is no God. The fact that he trusts his reason, trusts his moral judgment in an accidental universe, out of flux, nothing but flux. Determinism kills that particular question. He's just got that stranglehold around his neck. So I would have just said to him, if you are a naturalist, out of this all should come is accidental reasoning. Why is your reasoning taken to be true when it is accidental? Why using moral reasoning when there is no God? Your question is actually self-defeating. If you will explain and justify your question, I'll be glad to give you an answer.
Well, that's a very good answer.
Now to the real stuff, yeah.
No, that is the real stuff. It's extremely important to realize that this is the hard question for everybody. It's not only a hard question for a believer, for a Christian. It is a very hard question for an atheist. And there are two levels to it, of course. The one is the objective side, the philosophical side. The other is, if you're hurting, it looks very different to you. Cancer looks different to someone who's just been told she's got 3 months to live, and to a professor of oncology. And on the intellectual side, I think Ravi's answer is so important that if you get rid of God, then the huge problem you've immediately got is, well, how do you describe this world as evil? Where does your concept of evil actually come from? And it was Dostoevsky said, and I think he was right, and many Russians understand this, if God does not exist, everything is permissible. He didn't mean atheists couldn't behave. He meant there's no base for morality. And it seems to me that this is something we need to be very aware of. Richard Dawkins talks about the evil of God and so on. And yet he himself believes in a universe. And here's the logic of atheism. This universe is just what we'd expect it to be. If at bottom there is no good, there is no evil, there is no justice. DNA just is, and we dance to its music. In other words, he's logically saying that his atheism leads him to deny the categories of good and evil. So the answer to the intellectual side is atheism does not fare very well here. Also, atheism thinks it removes the problem, but it doesn't remove the suffering and the pain and the evil in the universe. And very quickly, because this is a huge topic, and if anybody's interested in what I think of it in general, my book Gunning for God deals with it. But if you Google my name and New Zealand, I arrived in Christchurch. Here, I addressed those questions on that. But the bottom line for me is this. We argue in the way you did. Surely a good God could, would, might, should have produced this. And yet we find that those arguments never come to any satisfactory conclusion. We've all argued till midnight as students. Have we ever found a successful solution to it? No. So I think we're asking the wrong question. What I mean by that is this. What faces us is a world which I describe as beauty and barbed wire, or beauty and bombs. We look at a universe and it presents a mixed picture. There are beautiful things about the universe, and there are ragged and horrible things about the universe. Now, that's the way it is. An atheist's got to face that, a Christian's got to face that. Now, here's my question. Granted that it's that way, is there enough evidence anywhere that there's a God whom we could trust with it? And the answer to that is uniquely given by Christianity. It's in the cross and the resurrection. And the cross tells us, at the very least, that God has not remained distant from the problem of suffering and evil, but has himself become part of it. Resurrection tells us that death is not the end, and that makes everything different. Now, we need to pursue that, but it seems to me that two things are true. One, atheism has no answer. It doesn't remove the problem, but it does remove all hope. Christianity faces the problem and does bring us hope, although the problem will leave every single one of us going into eternity with questions that will only be answered at the other side. And so we need to know enough of the love of God to trust him with the really difficult bits.
Atheist Friedrich Nietzsche said, "The gods justified human life by living it themselves, the only satisfactory response to the problem of evil ever invented." He was actually talking about the ancient Greeks, never make the connection to Christianity. As John has told us, we can affirm the statement and point directly to the cross of Jesus Christ. We have